The truth about Zachary Seidel. I moved to Astoria June 2015, heard about this Zachary Frank Seidel person at the cafe. Oh, there's some kind of freaky kid tried to arrest the mayor. I'm like, whatever. I read about it online, and then he comes up to me and starts like talking to me at the rummage sale, telling me to go to his court case, and I'm like, sure, I'll go check it out. So I do. It's Judge Matthias, and Ben comes. It's a little awkward. Then a week later, I see him at the produce thing or something. He's like standing there with all this produce, and I'm all like, hey. And then I talk to him with Ben, and I'm kind of like, hey, let's go over here. So I take him over to the store and get him some $5 used tennis shoes because his shoes are falling off his feet. And then I'm like, so you're not a psychopath or anything, right? I'm like, why don't you come have some tea? I have some lapsang souchong, and I'm hoping he can hang out with Ben, keep Ben occupied so I can have more time to myself. That doesn't go so well. He hangs out, and then Ben becomes homicidal, starts swinging out a golf club, threatening to kill him. Officer McNary won't do anything because he's underestimating the situation. I'm having to make calls to talk to the nice officer, Officer Randall, I think, like 4 in the morning, and I'm just like, okay, I think the homicide threats have subsided. I have to get a restraining order, clearly, because Ben is out of his mind. He destroys my apartment. And then I have one, but it's clear I'm going to be stalked and broken into by Ben Pickering. And at that point, Zach Seidel like comes over and it walks into my apartment, and I'm like, whoa, you're like an intruder. And I've negotiated in my mind this fact that if I am killed by Ben Pickering, yet I'd rather not be. So I'm thinking, well, this psycho guy is maybe I can leverage against this other psycho guy. Next break in, he's jumping in my window. I'm not there. That's this shoddy apartment. And I'm, in the meantime, getting harassed by Ben Pickering, sending the sheriffs over with a false restraining order that's like created by his new girlfriend, and it's a bunch of like crazy, distorted lies. And I'm like, okay. Processing that, just the devastation of it, can't even make a police report on Seidel's break in because I've got to go deal with this other problem. And he's doing some weird things. He's like trying to break my kneecaps, choke me, bite me. I'm completely freaked out by him. Ben violates the restraining order, but fortunately I've got Seidel there to witness it. Ben slams me up against a wall. Seidel's able to witness to the police, yeah, blah. He's stalking, and it's kind of nice of him, actually. I'm thinking, yeah, it's kind of nice to try to be that guy friend. But as he's violent and intrusive and creepy, like, the whole thing is coercive because I'm coerced by this sort of like homicidal male violence spectacle. I'm getting scared of him. He starts talking about like his transsexual fetish and anal sex, and I'm just like, whoa, you freaky. So I get him to Portland for his dental clinic because his tooth is exploding, and he starts talking about how he wants to legalize sex with 13-year-olds, and he thinks it's a child's rights issue. And I'm like, pedophile? So I keep driving to get him all the way to the clinic because a part of me is just like, I need to like push him out of the car, like abort, eject. And I'm freaked out because I'm like, this is starting to feel almost like when I was carjacked. Is this gonna be like even scarier? How scary is this gonna get? And I got into the clinic, and I immediately called like the Portland Women's Crisis Line. And I'm just like, what the hell do I do? This creepy dude is talking about legalizing pedophilia, and I'm so panicked. And they're just like, you don't owe him anything. You don't, nothing. So I just like bail, abandon him in Portland, drive back to Astoria, and right, sitting in the whole city council, and I'm like, okay, the plot thickens, it gets worse. My concern was, okay, you're crazy enough to go arrest the mayor. Let me get your little spiel. Let me find out what's your thing about your corruption and all of that you're investigating. But furthermore, are you going to be Anders Breivik? Are you going to be like the next mass shooter? What's your risk potential? I'm intrigued. Like, and I think when people have that, like, I'm this hippie, I have long hair, oh, I like organic food, like all these symbolic things, you can have some cultural bonding. But the pedophilia thing, oh my god. The violence, he had like men's rights activist, like paranoid, misogynistic conspiracy theories, and a problem with, oh, who cares? That guy, ugh. That guy is so gross. Sometimes he wanted to borrow my dresses, so he would be like my effeminate cohort, sort of. But honestly, I was drastically underwhelmed by his looks. I was just kind of like, I'm used to men looking as good as Ben. They didn't. This sucked. I have to delete it. But I think people should know. I had told Ben in 2014 we're broken up, but he didn't listen. Then by 2015, I'm having to like be like, okay, remember that last year when I told you we were broken up? Well, I need to tell you this again. And he did some, Ben did some really creepy death threat type gesture of like a gun gesture. And so I'd all witness that. You know, it's sort of like when you've got really dangerous stalkers in your life, you might need to have some other dude there to explain, negotiate, and witness, which he kind of did. Negotiate with Officer McNeary, and Officer McNeary's like, no, 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 I'm not going to make a police report about how he destroyed all your property. No, no, no. Kind of like, he now has the right to destroy your property because you're just chattel, woman. And I'm like, no, 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 Mr. McNeary, Officer McNeary, it's not the 1850s. Hate to inform you. And oh, poor McNeary, he had to fax all 5 of my like restraining orders and my files like this big on Pickering to the DA after not arresting him in 2015. So when he later came back to kill me in 2016 and I'm all like messed up in a neck brace, like I'm still messed up, Officer McNary's like, oh, he was like, would you like this extra file folder? And I'm like, yeah, mostly I just really like my neck not to hurt this bad. But yeah, I'd really no, I was just like, yeah, thanks for the file folder. And I tried to give him this spiel about like, oh yeah, I read this article about how you exercised a certain amount of discretion, and I recognize that because of your job, you might choose to exercise a certain discretion that I may not understand why you are not arresting the homicidal psychopath who's threatening to murder people with a golf club. And even McNeary tried to like lure me out of the hospital waiting room when I'm waiting. I was like, but I'm waiting to be seen. But I'm like, but I have a tag. Like, I'm here for the hospital. And he's all like, no, 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 no. I know what you're trying to do. You're trying to get me out of the range of the security cameras and the witnesses. That's a little, maybe you just want to have a little, Mick cop. I'm like, give him Mick a chance. Yeah, I will. Okay, so then one day I finally got George. Good old George. I'm walking down by the Columbia Museum, and I just go, I'm plunking like a little kiss on George's forehead. And McNeary drives by in his big Astoria cop SUV, and he smiles like, she finally found her a good boy.